So welcome to Rutgers Gardens. My name is Bruce Crawford. This is the rain garden at Rutgers Gardens. We're located on the campus of Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It is 183 acres, features a number of various garden spaces and components. The rain garden is one of our newest and one of the most exciting additions to the garden that both young and old enjoy, and they like to come and visit. And I hope that the next time that you're in the New Brunswick area or thinking of going for a trip, you'll come here. One of the things about rain gardens, which I think has been interesting over the last 10 years and how they developed, is people are now looking at an environment around them, and they're now becoming more sensitive to where does the water go. And a lot of people in the past have just let it go into drains or down the road, never really gave too much thought as to what the impact is upon the environment. And as the water tables have begun to drop, and we're also seeing greater damage due to excessive amounts of water going into storm drains, and we're seeing a lot of bank erosion, or the thought now is how can we sort of keep the water on the site, and how can we then possibly even make that an ornamental feature to the site, whether it be a residential design or whether it be a commercial design. So one of the things that has developed over the last 10 years is this concept of rain gardens. And a rain garden is something which is attractive. It features plants which can tolerate both inundation, being submerged in water, and it can also go to bone dry when you have extended periods without rain. And the water from a solid surface, whether it be a rooftop or a driveway or a sidewalk, is either directly funneled into the rain garden or is piped into the rain garden, and then it essentially floods the rain garden and slowly then perks back down into the ground. As it perks into the ground, obviously the plant material that's around you filters the water, takes out some of the impurities and the excessive nutrients, but at the same time it's replenishing the water supply. And we found that, especially here at Rutgers Gardens, we've seen that the water table in this area has been going down. So this element right here was put in to show that rain gardens can actually be attractive as well. So they can actually, through having a cistern and having the water recycled, the feature itself can actually be attractive. You can look at it year round and go, ooh, look at that pretty, and this has the sound, has all these wonderful things. But at the same time then we have it piped to a shed that's behind us. And then when you get heavy rainfalls, this lower area here actually overflows. The cistern recharges and fills, then this lower basin essentially floods, and the water then slowly perks into the ground. The one key thing about rain gardens is that the water needs to perk into the ground within 24 hours. If not, you're going to get a lot of mosquito buildup. So it's always imperative that the soil that's around you has good drainage. So if you have a heavier soil, a stiffer soil, you want to make sure that you may want to look at that, make sure that it perks. If not, you may want to excavate it a little bit and actually put in a basin underneath it, much like a septic field, so that the water perks into the ground. But the end result of this is that there'll be cleaner water supplies for our future, there'll be less bank erosion and stream erosion for stream corridors, and if everyone did this, you would actually see the water table rising significantly, and we would have a better environment for our children. One of the things that you have to do is sort of go to Mother Nature and look at floodplains or look at vernal pools, areas which are wet and swampy in the spring and then bone dry in the summer. Those are areas which the plant material then has adapted to really wet feet and also obviously bone dry conditions. So what's around us here is one sedge called Carex grayi. Sedges, a lot of sedges are tolerant of very wet soil conditions and very dry soil conditions. So this sedge will do that. There's another one called tussock sedge, Carex stricta. It mounds up in wet, boggy conditions, but you can plant it in a garden. So it tolerates dry soils, tolerates shade, it tolerates sun. So as does this sedge. So very adaptable plants. Also looking behind us are iris. So iris versicolor and iris virginiana are the two irises that are here. They're both native, both feature blue flowers, but again they can actually sit in water for long periods of time or be planted in an average garden soil condition. So they're again very tolerant to those extremes. Other plants that you could look at would be a number of ferns which are adaptable. We have ostrich fern here. We have cardinal flower featured here. Again, cardinal flower, which has a beautiful red spike coming up in the late summer, attracts hummingbirds, but also again can sit in water or can tolerate average soil. We have spiranthes, which is a native orchid, and again it features a white flower in October. Really exciting, and it has fragrance to it. But the key thing again is it's very adaptable. So here it's actually sitting in water, but in a garden situation you can put it in roughly, you know, it has to have a little bit of moisture. It doesn't like bone dry, so it's a little accommodating here, but still it's fun to put in a rain garden that's typically wet. So those are the plants, or that category of plants, that you really want to look to. And depending how big it is, you can also interject some woody plants as well. A good woody plant might be bottlebrush buckeye, which gets to be large, has white flowers in June, but can tolerate really wet soils and really dry sun and shade. It really comes down to, as we watch development occur, a lot of the things that we focus upon are areas which are impermeable. In other words, the water runs off the top, it doesn't soak into the ground. And even as much as we all love lawns and turf, as I do, when the grass knits together, even it is highly or relatively impermeable during heavy storms. So one of the things that we need to focus upon is how do we recapture the water that right now is running off into streams or into local rivers, and also the pollutants that it carries with it. And the pollutants can vary from oils and perhaps some antifreeze that is dropped from our cars to perhaps remnants from our pets as they run around the yard, to maybe even some of the fertilizers and chemicals that we do use on our lawns. So one of the things that we're looking at are these rain gardens, and the rain gardens are essential for not only minimizing the amount or reducing the amount of water that runs into streams, but also for cleansing that water. And also, as we've been sort of looking at the amount of water that we've been pulling out of the ground with wells, and the amount of impermeable surface that has dramatically increased over the last 100 years, the water table is not getting recharged as it once was. And this has been noticeable at Rutgers Gardens because the well here, which has worked well since the 20s, is now having issues. And so the issue being, of course, the water table has dropped. So as we look to the future, facilities like rain gardens are important because they actually help the groundwater table recharge, and also by reducing the amount of effluent, so to speak, flow out to streams, you will see that the stream corridors will reduce the amount of bank erosion. And as the bank erosion increases, oftentimes it slows down the stream. As the stream becomes more shallow, it becomes warmer, and then it's also more difficult for fish and other plant material to grow in that. So it's very far wide and far-reaching, the impacts of rain gardens.